Just walking around.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, y'all. Thanks so much for joining. We're doing Cricut Pots. I know it's Monday night. We made it. Very exciting. So congratulations for just literally getting here and being open to learn something new on a Monday evening. We are going to have so much fun, but just quick maintenance in case we're new to Zoom or we forgot. Just make sure you have yourself muted. And then if you want questions, please put them in the chat or just write them down and then we can ask them toward the end. So I want to hear, but there's a chance I may just keep talking and you may get an answer, but if not, just wait till the end and either put it in the chat. And the chat is down below with the speech bubble. So you can type it, just be mindful that everyone can see what you're typing. And, I don't care whether you go get a snack, eat dinner, it's Monday night. I think just be mindful that everyone in class can see you if your camera is on. So please don't bring this into the bathroom. We don't want that. All right, so this pot, I took the plant out so it looks less sad. It looks a little more sad, but it's super fun. This is a great kind of gateway drug for acrylic if you haven't picked up a paintbrush in a while, or you're scared about going directly onto a surface where you can't really undo, right? Like we can't really put another layer onto this. I'm going to teach two different techniques that hopefully you can kind of feel fearless, whether you're doing a little pot or a big pot.
Has stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
Thanks, Zoom. The main principle that works with this composition is negative space. So an important part of my class is that people learn more how to talk about art. So I wanted to pull up a PDF real quick that explains that so you can speak to it like a boss. Can everyone see my screen? Carrie, can we see my screen? Amazing. Yeah, all right. Okay. Negative space, it's a good thing. All right, and negative space is the distance between our elements. So in any composition, whether it's this pot or it's these two little patterns here, the elements are actually these little smiley faces in the pattern, and our negative space is this background color. That's the distance. So on the left, we see that there's actually, a little less negative space. It's tighter, it's a little more crowded, and on the right, it's a little more airy, there's more negative space. Neither one is better, it's just different. It evokes different feelings, and it's just a tool that we use. So why I chose to use it for this class is because there's a lot of room for interpretation, and there's nothing wrong if we're doing something like this that's abstract. We got a lot of negative space with our curves. So there's no right or wrong. If we're doing a portrait for the first time on something we can't undo, it's a little scary. But since we're just using geometric forms, it's a lot more forgiving. So if you're painting along, that's great, get everything together. If not, just kind of watch and hang out. So there's two ways. And then Carrie, if you wanna scoop, we're gonna go to my cell phone so you can see my hands. We're gonna have paints. Can everyone see? Yay! Okay, we've got these cool little paints. We're not even color mixing. These were super fun, inexpensive, and a great little gateway paint. So we're gonna start with the clay pot textured one, and it's acrylic, so we just want to give it a little bit of a shake. It doesn't need to be crazy. And since we're not color mixing, we don't have to take out a lot of paint, just a little bit, because it's hard to put it back in to the container. I've got my pot, yay. And let's see, so if we want to recreate this first larger piece, there's two different ways we can do it. So we can just kind of look and mass it out. So normally what I would do is I would take a pencil and kind of trace this, draw this right onto my new pot. And go from there. But a lot of times, because of this material, you can't really undo. So, if the paint doesn't cover up the pencil lines or you make mistakes, it can get messy really fast. So actually what we're gonna do is something called massing. So we've got these kind of 5 little bumps here, and we're just gonna kind of recreate it. So I'm gonna go from the bottom up. Oh, actually first, I'm gonna take off that tag. When you take off stickers, if you don't already know that, try and kind of pull from like a 45-degree angle, and it should come off well. Thank you, sticker. So it looks like, the effect here is like this color and texture is coming from the pot itself, from the inside out. So we've got the bottom done. Start there. So we'll kind of start at the bottom and just decide how high up we're doing. So I'm kind of just gonna do areas. And so now I've started putting paint on my surface, but it's a really kind of non-judgmental mark. So you can see that I'm gonna start to be able to fill this in and make it look like that. But instead of going right to the edge and being like, oh no, I messed up, I need to go higher and higher and higher, and then you run out of pot and you're crying and it's a whole thing. So by doing that, it's a little bit of an easier way. And paint. So we can see, if we kind of follow my imaginary, where the heights of these are, how I'm going to connect it. Acrylic's a great paint. It's made from plastic, so we never painted on food surfaces, but something like terracotta, which is porous, this is great. So we actually don't need a primer for this, which is handy because that eliminates a step. This paint isn't super opaque, so we are going to end up doing 2 coats. Because we're going to do coats and this is opaque, the direction of my brush doesn't really matter because we're not really going to see the brush strokes. In other types of painting and other mediums, you want to be mindful of the direction of your brush stroke because you'll ultimately see it. But for this, we're really just getting paint onto our surface. So you can go all sorts of crazy. Obviously, don't make your brush go crazy because we want to be sweet to our brushes. So my edges aren't super clean right now, but we're just getting close and we're going to be able to clean this up a little more when we get the second coat going. Again, just kind of getting thickness, starting to get more opaque here. Let's see if we do it. Mhm. So now that I'm still low, I can look at where my shapes are at and kind of decide, but I've started getting things covered. And I can kind of look at my lines and go, okay, well, I kind of want a little more here and I can afford to bring it up, but at least we're getting closer instead of overshooting and we can't undo. So we're kind of approaching it from the bottom up. Again, since we're doing something with the properties of negative space, there is no wrong. So if you end up going up to the lip, that's fine, right? You know, as long as you did it as a choice because you wanted less rather than more, that's kind of the goal of this way of painting. So I'm going to go up a little more because that's what I did on the first one. Always a chance that you will get paint on yourself, and by a chance I mean it'll happen. That's how this goes. So I keep a wet paper towel around when I'm painting. Acrylic dries quite quickly. So it's a property of it, which can be good and bad. So in our case, since we're doing 2 coats, great. I'm starting to smooth out my little edges here. Kind of like where that's at. I'm going to start kind of blending this curve so it's less, comes to a point. But we're starting to get there. But we went from big rectangles to starting to get curvy to now really blending out. I don't like where that's at. I think I want to kind of actually extend this part a little bit more. Difficult to paint while someone else is watching. I'm trying to show someone. This is my first class. Sure you can see. If you can't see, please drop it in the chat. Thanks, Carly. Yeah, all the materials that are listed are in the class description, so you can go pick them up. And this paint, I think you can tell, maybe not. It's got a really interesting texture to it. So since we're doing a monochromatic color scheme, which I'll talk to you while we let this dry, I like to compare the texture. So this has got a bit of a gritty texture, and then this one's a metallic. So it's giving us visual interest while keeping our color palette restrained. My paint is various thicknesses. Have you shaken it up? Let me help.
Lauren, can you try moving your work to a little bit, I think, to the left, more center? It's kind of going off the screen just a bit. That looks good right there.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you so much. Oops. Stay here, little buddy. This is something while I'm blending the curve. I've got more paint built up here, so it's the kind of thing you're going to want to let dry a little bit and then come back to it. We're starting to blend the curves together. On this side, we'll go on the other one. So this is massing, and then for the other drip, on the other side, I'm going to show another technique. So since we know terracotta is porous, we're going to use that to our advantage. And it's not a trick you can use on every material, but it is something you can use for this. So we will be taking advantage of that. I'm going to fill out these curves, let this dry. Check out the sweet paint on my hands. You know, listen. So when I get too much buildup paint up in the top of my bristles, I'm using the edge of my palette to scrape some of that down. It's always a good idea to make sure your paint doesn't hit the edge of your bristles because that is a mega pain to clean. It's always good if you throw your paint. Pro tip. Carly, while I'm just finishing these curves, do you want to read any questions to me? Would that be helpful?
Sure.
Kari, sorry, Carrie.
Carrie. Yeah, all good. So
Who was Kari? Do they even know her?
somebody's wanting to know if somebody wanted to get snazzy with their skills, could they use painter's tape for geometric designs?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is with painter's tape is it can work or it can not work. Depending on the tape and depending on how well you burnish it down, your paint will feather underneath. So yes, I would test it. I love testing on my materials. you've got like a nice use of dead space under here. So you can even do a little baby test and put a little tape underneath and do a test and see how well it works. Because it's just, it depends, right? It depends on the brand of your tape, depends on the type of your paint. But theoretically, yes, this should work with, you know, a nice painter's tape and acrylic. You just may get a little bit of feathering and have to go back and then clean up those edges. So if that's something you're open to, I mean, always try something, but I would say yes, but it may not work perfectly.
And then you're kind of veering off to the outside of the frame just a little bit.
Where are we at?
And you haven't changed colors, right? Or is this the same color you've been using?
No, I've been building up these layers. So we're basically on layer 2 for most of this because acrylic dries that quickly. So it's one of the good and bad things about this paint. So that's why I want to make sure you don't put out more than you need because it will dry on your palette and then that's not of use to you. The good thing about acrylic on like a plastic palette though is it comes off really well. Just take it into your sink, a little bit of water and dish soap, let it soak, and then you should be able to wipe it off with a paper towel so it's not going into your drains. The cleanup is pretty easy with acrylic, whereas oil, oh goodness, different story. So I'm just building up. So we were here and I'm just kind of filling in because that was just one layer as I blended in the curve. So yeah, we've hit about 2 or 3 layers just as we're here working, kind of going back and forth. Moving everything out or messing up what I just did. Okay, so we've got some blob situations. We can keep working on this for a while. Which I could do forever. But okay, so while this dries, we've got our main shape. We've masked it out, right? Awesome. So we were talking about how, do you mind switching so I can gesticulate wildly? Yay! Okay. So terracotta is porous, right? It absorbs water. Oh, thank you, puppy. Can you go lay down? Can you go lay down, please? The beauty of a live class. So terracotta is porous, right? It absorbs water. And another way to get our mark made on our piece is actually taking a brush. I'm using a quick different brush just for this example. But I'm going to just dunk my paintbrush in water and I can just barely kiss it, but I can go ahead and trace a really nice line and I can use that as my barrier. So we don't want to paint on top of our water because we don't want to trap the water between the terracotta and the paint, but I do want to use it as a boundary. So it's kind of, we're going to put that on the other side. So when the first technique we were working our way upwards, do you mind switching it? Thank you, Carrie. She's the queen. So this technique we were kind of working our way up and then finishing our edges. This way we're going to go the opposite. So we've got this dribble situation coming down from the top. And so, right, we've got a lot of element happening here. So let's kind of pivot around and look at that. Okay, so let's see. We've got a little dribble situation. It doesn't go on the rim. So let's use our, I mean, really barely wet paintbrush because we don't want to saturate the terracotta. But we do want to make a mark. So I'm just going to kind of cap. Like maybe this is where I want the top to go. Right, so these are like my the paint will not go higher than here markers, just to let me know, right? And if you decide that you hate what you did, you've drawn all over here, it's not a big deal. It's terracotta and a little bit of water. You can actually just take it outside in the sun. It'll dry and come back to it. But we'd rather not paint on top of our water because we don't want to trap our water between our paint, because our acrylic paint is made of plastic and it'll form a little seal. Okay, so it's already fading, right? You can see that water is really going quickly. So we were very delicate with it, but so you can see, I'm gonna add a little bit more. La, la, la. Okay, so we've got our kind of markers. I'm gonna get our base coat here. Okay. When you get acrylic paint on you, as one inevitably will, good old dish soap and water and a little bit of scrubbing, it'll come off your hands. So you may be able to see this paint is thickening, right? It's already a fairly thick acrylic. It's got that texture, but as we've been working, it is drying. So it's again, it's a blessing and a curse how quickly acrylic dries. And we're not going up to our little watermarks. We're just using them as a guide, and it's just another way. So you're not just free forming it, because that's difficult. My normal go-to is to take a pencil and draw on top of it. But again, we'd see the pencil line through it. And unless you have a color that immediately matches, these are just two other ways, right? The great thing about art and design is that there's a million ways to skin a cat. So some other ways to get paint on a non-traditional surface in a hopefully not too intimidating way. So, it's our little blob, and then I'm just going to go over the edge. So when you're looking at the top of the pot, it looks nice. I like to put less paint on my brush than more. I can always add more, but then you've got to go scrape it off. It's a whole thing. And then I pulled this drip kind of down into the pot. So when you have your plant in there, you can still look down. If the soil doesn't come all the way up, you still have like a nice finished edge. Go over it with our metallic like we did over here, just to give a little guideline of. The brush we're using is called a filbert, and it's made for curves. You can totally use a different style of brush, but it's got this curved head. In Spanish and French, this brush is called cat tongue because it's a little round, and if you hear softly, it doesn't meow at you. But if you want to use a flat head, if you only have a small detailed point brush, you can do the same thing. There's a million ways to skin a cat when you're making something. This is just one route. Okay. So we've got our little base bloblet. We're already hitting 8:30. And this is the fun thing, right? We don't have parameters. So if I decide I want to take this out a little more, I can. Acrylic is really great for layering. So we've just been building up layers around here. Awesome. So we're gonna let that dry. This one, I mean, you can tell it's really got quite a dry down. And like makeup, like foundation, acrylic paint also has a different dry down color. We can see it's gotten a little more cool, a little more pink than it was in the bottle. You can see, we can see it's a little lighter, warmer. I'm going to talk about our color scheme today. Okay. Can you see my screen? Carrie, can you see my screen? Magic.
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, so our color scheme is monochromatic, right? We've just got shades and tints of orange. So mono means one, chroma or chrome is color, and you know, suffix. But it's one color. So this is orange, right? Our terracotta pot is the shade of orange. The paints we're using, it's either a tint or a shade of orange, right? A tint is our color, our base hue. When we think of the rainbow, that's what we're benching off of to add white to, or a couple other mixers. That makes our tint. And on the right, if we add a little darker colors, our browns and generally black, but you know, color mixing is a little more complicated to that. But tints are plus white, shades are plus black, and that is our color scheme. So even though we've got these tints and shades, this is still a monochromatic color scheme. Perfect. Okay, so we're pretty good. Oh no, am I touching it? All right, but it dried pretty well. Thank you, acrylic. We're gonna let this guy sit because it was the last one, the second to last one we did. I got a little paint here. I will later take super clean hands and honestly a wet paper towel and just scrub that off. If you get a little paint extra somewhere, just a little bit of friction, you should be able to peel off that layer since it was just a little tap. But this bottom is looking good. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch to our second color. And that means it's an important thing about washing our brushes. So especially with acrylic, this dries fast, as we know, and oh my gosh, my brush is about to turn into a rock. So it's super important. We can't go to my sink right now, so we're gonna pretend that we're in our sink, and we always wash our brushes with the water flowing downwards. If we flip the water, if we have our water facing in the direction, it's gonna push our paint down into the head of the bristles and we'll never get it out, and then we'll cry. So always have your water, your faucet going down. I'm gonna double clean this brush after, but just for us. And then with acrylic and brushes, you really can just use a little bit of dish soap. So I've got some dish soap in another palette here. And like a makeup brush, you really can just go ahead and do a couple nice circles. And you just wanna get your brush clean. You know, I'm not gonna be abusive and really rub it into my hand, but just, you know, enough to, you'll see the paint pull up. Sometimes you have to get in there, but that's the thing with brushes, just really cleaning them and they will love you. And if you don't, they will perform like they were put away nasty. No one likes that, you know? Okay, so I've got another rinse cup, and I will properly rinse this in the sink for the sake of us. Oh yeah, clean water. Okay, so that's how I know my brush is pretty clean. The water hasn't changed color. That's a good rule of thumb when you're in your sink. When the water's running clear, tap it a couple times to get out the water and make sure it's looking good. And then go ahead and dry it because acrylic, we don't want to mix our acrylic paint or our plastic paint with water. I'm just gonna dab it dry before I get our next color out. Okay. Sweet action. Okay, so we've got this metallic acrylic for the second layer. Shake it. I'm a lefty, so I like half to my left. So this is the same animal, except we're not going to mass out with, we're going to be massing out. We're not going to be using water on top of our acrylic for the second layer, but we've already kind of got our baseline shape. So we can do the same thing where we're starting from the bottom and filling in and using this shape as our parameter, like we would with the water line over here or the watermark over here. We've got an idea, right? So now we'll use this as our barrier. Blob situation. Start from the bottom again. And just build up. So hopefully during this time, it's just really meditative, right? There is no right or wrong shape. You don't have to be judgmental to yourself. You can just put paint on your pot and enjoy. If this is still super scary to put something directly on, especially when there's a new paint to me or a new media, I like to literally grab my brush and my paint, and I'll just put the paint and the brush onto my palette or a piece of paper. I use a sketchbook or scratch paper just to see how the flow is, right? It makes it just a little less intimidating to understand, okay, this is how this reacts, this is how opaque it is. Hopefully that gives you a little more peace of mind before you go straight onto your surface. So we've got our monochromatic color scheme, but we're getting variance because of the different colors and the different textures, right? We've got a matte terracotta, we've got a very matte textured paint, and we've got this metallic. So it makes our eyes move around and creates visual depth and interest. Something else that may be interesting is a white on white combination. As terracotta ages, sometimes a little bit of white appears on the pot. It could be really lovely to have a white textured paint and maybe a white metallic. Could be interesting, you know, whatever color scheme you enjoy. It would still be monochromatic even though our surface is orange based, because that's what we're putting on it. But, you know, maybe not a neon yellow. If anybody has any color combos they're thinking, or color schemes they're thinking of, or they want to hang out with this one, but if someone wants to drop it in the chat to be like, would this work? I don't know. Throw it in there. I love referencing the color wheel when thinking about color.
Lauren, are you just continuously adding to this layer?
Yes, I am. It may be hard to see because, yeah, we can see it. Okay. Yeah, I'm adding on. This acrylic is drying fast, so I'm really extending my shapes, my mass as I started getting a little height and everything. And now I'm just kind of filling out. But yeah, we've hit 2 or 3 layers on some parts of this. And while our resolution is only so good with Zoom, as you're working, you'll see where you need to go back over and you're like, oh, you know what, that's not as opaque as the rest of my piece. So I'll go back and give a little kiss. Okay, so we can see that it's drying pretty quickly. Thanks, acrylic. Okay. Meanwhile, this little guy definitely has had time to dry. And we'll give a little attention over here. Gonna do this and use this shape as my parameter. Start from the bottom. Oops. we're going to bring the paint over the edge, just like we did on the first. And do the same thing. We're just going to bring it on inside so we have a nice, pretty shape when you're looking into the pot. Since our soil probably won't go this high. Acrylic dries quickly, but I would wait an hour before I pot a plant into it. The longer you wait any paint to dry, the better. But if you've got an urgent potting situation, an hour should be fine. And so, yeah, we've hit about 2 layers on this little metallic piece. It's looking pretty opaque, right? Opaque means we can't see through it. Translucence means we see light or other, in our case, our other layer below it. But we've got a highly pigmented paint, which is fantastic. We've got little driblets. And we've got our larger piece on the other side. And we've got this negative space. So play with it. There are more sizes to this pot. There are more ways we could fill this up, but really, you know, just this is a good sense. This is a good way to just judge yourself. There's no right or wrong here. If you decide that you really want to keep filling out this other half, that's great. Do that. It's really about, you know, do you want more or less negative space? What's interesting to you, right? We've got a larger element here, and we have a smaller element here. And as you rotate it, you see a little bit, you either see one or the other. And there's no right or wrong. We're just learning about negative space, getting our hands in acrylic, having a great time on Monday. I'm gonna let this dry before I continue to touch it and get paint on my hands and wash my brush. Carrie, what's going on with the questions? What are we doing? How are we feeling, class? Tell me about your life and your stories.
Let's see. I don't know that we have any questions at the moment, but if anybody has any, please feel free to let us know.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I'm going to keep washing my brush. I'm going to do the same thing, get it fully saturated with water. I'm just scrubbing it on the bottom. Again, do this at your sink. Make sure the faucet's running down, the bristles are running down. And again, just little, I've got natural unscented dish soap. I've just dipped my hand in. And again, just get a little soap on your brush.
Here's a question for you. How many layers of paint should they do?
Until it's opaque, I think we hit about 2 or 3 on each of those layers. But as you're, you know, having your own pot in your own hand, you'll be able to see I think it's a little harder to tell on Zoom, but when it's opaque, that's perfect. And when all of your shapes are the same level of opaqueness, because, you know, as I was evening out these curves, I had to come back and fill that in a little bit more. As you get closer, you'll see, you're like, oh, this is all the same level of opacity. This all looks finished and thick. That's it.
And somebody said it's really relaxing watching you paint.
I love that. I'm so glad. This is my first class, so I appreciate that it's hopefully a little therapeutic for people. That's the goal. And that we learn some stuff. Okay, so we got a clean brush. Not truly clean. Go to your sink. Love your brushes so they love you back. Will the sun fade the colors? So that's a great question. The sun, nothing can beat the sun. The sun is everything. But Carrie, if you want to put it to me so I can talk, because I think that's all I have. We're just letting paint dry now. Magical kittens. So nothing can beat the sun, but these little paints, the bottom one is indoor, outdoor. The top one is indoor, but it's acrylic, it's plastic. So Is it better to let these live indoor? Yes, but outdoor, it's fine. Fading, it'll take quite a while. But again, the sun wins all, so nothing is really gonna not outlast the sun. If you really want to, they do offer a clear coat that you could put on top. But why I didn't do that is because we're playing with light and matte. We're playing with, matte and shiny. So if we put a coat on top of that, it'll mask all the highlights of the metallic and the lowlights of the matte and make it one thing, which kind of defeats the depth of that we just created. Fantastic. Any other questions? What can we do right now? So we're just letting this dry.
Somebody said a good business idea is SPF for terracotta pots.
Love it. Let's go. That's it. Yep. So let it dry at least an hour. Overnight is always better, but you're good to go. That's the great thing about acrylic is that it does dry fast. So a little bit good, a little bit bad. Every paint has its principle, right? Oil famously dries never. It never dries. It takes forever. But that's not a media that will work well on terracotta. And that's it. We've got a saucer that goes with it, pot. They have a ton of different sizes. So we started small because it's baby steps, but be fearless. Get a bigger size, whatever makes sense for you, for your plants, for your life. I don't know. Hopefully that this was helpful. You had fun. You learned some things. And that's all I have. So do we have other questions? What are we doing? Tell me about the thoughts and the lives. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you about some other classes I have. No, love it. Great. Okay. Thank you so much, Carrie. She's amazing. And yes, if you make anything, please tag the Michaels classes, Make It With Michaels, Learn With Michaels. I have an Instagram that I will be starting to post more classes on, but I'd love to see what you post so you can tag me or you can at me at Probably Sketch on Instagram. I'd love to see what you make. If you do different color combinations, I want to know. I want all the deets. I'm very excited. And I have some classes coming up. So this was my first one. I will be teaching a class every week until the end of the year. Oh my gosh, I see someone. Yeah, I love it. This is amazing. Killing it. Oh, you got a bigger pot. Yes, love that for you. And yay, I'm so glad. Love it. Looks great. And so I'm teaching class every Monday for the rest of the year. What I'll be teaching next week is paper crowns. So we're going to cut out, there's some fabulous 12 by 12 pieces of paper. I'm going to teach cutting techniques. So with scissors, but how to level up your scissor cutting and how to use utility blades, which can be scary, but they're fantastic tools. So I'll teach how to use those safely, how to switch your blade, how to cut, and how to make really fun crowns because, it's wedding season, there's bachelorette parties, there's birthdays. It's such a easy gift that lights people up when you just bring a paper crown that you've made. It's so sweet to see them just get so excited. And, the ones that you buy in the store are kind of expensive. So it's so much fun to be able to be like, I made this for you. It's such a sweet gesture and they light up. The next class after that is ribbon curling. What do you say, puppy? My puppy is very excited for that class. He's chiming in. Ribbon curling. So that's going to be super fun. It's such a great skill. I learned as a child from my mom. Thanks, Mom. And it makes everything look like a gift. I know, sweet puppy. Makes everything look like a gift easily. So even if you're just bringing over a bottle of wine or something to a host gift, it just levels everything up. And of course, for gift wrapping as we get into the high holidays and the holidays themselves. After that, it's a crystal sun catcher. So like channel your earth goddess. There's these really cool quartz beads and really basic gateway drug into macrame that I think will be fun. And then after that, I'll be posting Halloween. So it's going to be all Halloween. It's going to get a little more advanced and definitely more spooky, but in the best way. So these first 4 classes are very simple, manageable, get everybody excited, and then we're going to start really getting into more techniques, more materials, and more spook. So that's where I'm at. Carrie, did I miss anything? What's going on? Let me catch up in the chat. How are we living?
I don't see any questions, but people are saying congrats on your first class and that they really enjoyed the class.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I hope this was helpful, that you learned. If you enjoyed this or didn't, let us know. I know, puppy. And I really appreciate everyone joining. If there's something you like or you think someone else would like, please share. That would be so helpful. So send a link to a friend and be like, come on, get on this. And hopefully this was therapeutic, enjoyable, and made you feel like you can go ahead and paint on anything, or at least some terracotta for now. We'll start there. That's it. We made it. That's my cue. All right. Thank y'all so much.